Hey, Audio Road listener, what is your profit per mile? How about your cost per mile? Or even your bottom line? Stop driving blind and know your numbers. Profit Gauges is absolutely simple bookkeeping specifically for owner-operators. Have instant access to business and tax reports that will help you increase your profits and keep your money in your pocket where it belongs. Sign up for Profit Gauges today and take advantage of our 30-day free trial. Know your numbers and master the journey. Visit our website at letstruck.com or call our Tribe Care Team at 855-800-FUEL. That's 855-800-3835.
Your money, your taxes, your truck, and your road to success in the trucking industry. This is Trucking Business and Beyond, the show that puts the money where it belongs, back in your pocket.
Good morning, you beautiful bunch of fuckers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Thursday, October 17th. We are here live. We've got an hour. It is a free-for-all. I see calls are already starting to come in, so I will get to those here pretty quickly. If you want to jump in and join us, I would do it right now. 855-950-3835, or you can hit that call now button on your app. We will get to those calls here pretty quickly. I have a couple things while we're screening those calls. AB5, there's been some activity on AB5 out in California. It looks like it's there to stay as far as California goes. Now, interestingly enough, AB5 in California was primarily about all of the new gig workers. You know, all the other independent contractors have been around for a long time, decades or more, and we've had this fight over and over and over, and for the most part, everything was kind of static until AB5. And AB5 was because we had this whole new group of opportunities to work as an independent contractor, really easy opportunities. Basically, you just downloaded an app and got started. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to it, not a ton of qualifications. It was pretty darn simple. I looked at this as a great opportunity for people to create a second income. You work whenever you want. I knew people that only worked Friday and Saturday nights when the bars closed. That was their method of using like Uber or Lyft. And then we have the delivery apps and food and all the other things. But it was a very flexible, easy way to make some money without any kind of a big commitment. I thought that was an awesome thing. Now, people used it as their primary source of income. So what? If you choose to do that, that's fine. That's your choice. But then immediately they start complaining. Oh, they're not paying my taxes. Oh, I have to pay all my own expenses. Oh, and they want to be an employee. Well, if you want to be an employee, go find a job that treats you like an employee. That wasn't what this was. But that's what created the lawsuits and all this attention on the independent contractors. That it just exploded with all of these gig worker apps, which again, I thought were just great opportunities. I've seen stories of people saying, you know, I got laid off or I lost my job and I was making money on the way home. I mean, that's how flexible it was. It's just another opportunity. Not every opportunity has to be a career building opportunity. It's just there. It's a way to make some extra money when you need it. If you want to do it full time, that's your choice. So they went after it with AB5 and they got AB5 passed. But then the gig worker environment, these are big tech companies with a lot of money. And they put a lot of money behind, I think it's Prop 22 in California. So the law was primarily written because of the gig workers, but then they were able to get a proposition on the ballot in California that exempts the gig workers from this rule. Now, it doesn't exempt trucking. We obviously don't have enough money to lobby. OIDA's trying, California Trucking Association tried. They failed. The Supreme Court refused to hear it. So AB 5 still applies to trucking, but it doesn't apply to gig workers. They're fighting that, but it looks like that's not going to go through this time. The other thing to think about, we do have an election coming up, if you're not aware. Be kind of hard not to be aware, but this is an issue at the federal level, and it is a partisan issue. For the most part, this is supported by the Democrats to have these kinds of rules that either eliminate independent contractors or make it very difficult to work as an independent contractor. The left wants more control. They want you to be employees. They don't want you to be independent contractors. I mean, you can say that's just partisan, but it is. That is how this vote has always gone. For the most part, the Republicans don't vote for these types of controls on independent contractors. So this will be in my opinion. All right, hold on. I just lost my connection for some reason. It's not a good way
Ready
to
to
start
connect.
today.
Click connect to show now. You are connected as the host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-in Studio web interface. Audio recording is on.
Boy, I'm back. I just lost my connection there. I had to reconnect. I just looked at the board. I got calls coming in. They're all health calls. A lot of health calls. Yesterday, I spent a lot of time talking to the guests, and we didn't take many calls. That's probably why. That's all right. Today is a free-for-all. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. The AB 5 thing, I think that's one of the big issues. There are so many issues in this election, but that's a big one. And I don't think people understand how disruptive that could be to our economy and certainly to the trucking industry. All right, I'm going to get to the calls because they're starting to pile up on us. Keep them coming. 855-950-3835. Let's go to Missouri. Richard, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Got a little bit of information on my health. I've never
Sure.
taken an A1C before in my life. I'm 53, and I did my first A1C test. It is through Walgreens, the little things you can do it at the house yourself. I didn't go to the doctor, but my A1C turned out to be 5.9, and I did my wife's also, and hers turned out to be 5.5.
Okay.
Hers is, I'm assuming hers don't have any issues, but mine is right there at what they call borderline.
So one question I have real quick, and I know we've talked several
Go ahead.
times, but I just want to make sure I'm always clear on this.
Right.
Are you eating
Right.
very low carb? Have you been eating very low carb for the last 90 days?
For the last 90 days, yes, but for the last 30 days, probably about 40 days, I've been eating nothing but meat, salt, and water.
Okay. So one of the things that could be happening, an A1C is an average, and
Right.
A1C is it's one of the measurements we have around blood sugar. We don't have very many good measurements. A1C can be really deceptive because when you're averaging numbers, what happens if you have a bunch of high numbers and a bunch of low numbers and you average them?
Right.
You can end up pretty darn close to normal, even though the readings are completely abnormal. All of your readings can be completely abnormal. They're either way off the charts on the high side and way off the charts on the low side, which is what happens when you start to become diabetic. We call it reactive hypoglycemia. Your blood sugar shoots up, your body dumps a bunch of insulin, and it shoots down too low. That's telling us that your blood sugar is out of control. But on the A1C, it
Okay.
can look completely normal or only slightly elevated. Now, there's another
Okay.
problem. Technically, my A1C is slightly high, and it really
Okay.
shouldn't be. When I track my own blood sugar numbers, they're right where I would like to see them. But remember, all of these numbers, these ranges, we talked about this yesterday. These ranges were all developed on unhealthy people eating the standard American diet.
Right. Right.
So the one thing that changes when you start eating very low carb, on the standard American diet, before you become diabetic, most people will show fasting blood sugar numbers in the 70s or 80s. So that's kind of what we've come to look at as normal. Well, what we realized pretty quickly was when people started eating low carb, those 70s and 80s in the morning became 90s and 100s, which was
Yeah.
really odd because we're eating a lot less sugar. Our blood sugar should go down, but our fasting blood sugar goes up because our body
Yeah.
we're not consuming enough sugar. Well, that's a bad way to say it. We're not consuming as much sugar as we do on the standard American diet, so we're going to get different results. One of the results seems
Right.
weird, but when you go to bed and your blood sugar is low because you haven't been eating much of it all day, your body will produce its own sugar overnight. That tends to put us into a higher fasting range in the morning. But then the typical pattern
Okay.
for somebody is that is their highest reading is first thing in the morning, and then everything after that it goes down. But
That's the way mine does.
it's enough to bring that average up and kind of bump it out of the normal range, and then the doctors freak out. Nobody understands what's going on. If you've been eating low carb, then I wouldn't worry about your A1C because it's going to fix itself. And I have to
Okay.
ask, but you are looking at this as a way of eating for the rest of your life, right? You're not doing this just to
Yes.
lose 30 pounds.
No. Yes. Me and my wife. This is something that we have decided that we're not going to go back to anything. We're not going to go back to keto. We're just going to stay strictly carnivore because we feel a whole lot better.
Good.
Our health is a lot better. Well, I went from 205 now. The other day I weighed and I was 179.
See, that's an excellent
Um,
sign. If your
yeah.
blood sugar is out of control, then your insulin would be out of control and you would be gaining weight or
Right.
struggling to lose weight. And the
Right.
opposite happens. It's the same for me. I have a very high fasting blood sugar in the morning, especially if I don't sleep
Yeah.
good, or if I go to bed too
Yeah.
late, or if I eat anything close to bedtime, then my fasting number goes up even more.
Right. Well,
It's
see, I'm. Go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna. We just have to look at these numbers differently when somebody is eating very low
Okay.
carb.
Okay. Well, see, I'm 50. Like I say, I'm 53. I've never been to a doctor for a health for what
Good,
most people go to doctors for a health checkup. I've never done that.
good.
I never had any. I've done blood work one time, and that was a couple years ago, and I did not understand it at all. I think I called you about it, and you said it was pretty much normal, so I didn't worry too much about it. But I've always wondered about my A1C and if I was beginning to be pre-diabetic or whatever, or type 2 diabetic. And it always
Yeah.
scared me, and I just wanted to try to see if to
Well,
find out. And
there's
I was really scared. I was scared about taking this test here because
yeah
I was worried
there's
about it's going to be
there's two
high.
ways we could approach this. One is we could just say you've committed to eating low carbohydrates and you're going to do it
Right.
for the rest of your life, whether it's keto, carnivore. At some point, your metabolism gets healthy. You might add some rice back in or a little fruit, honey now and then. It's not a bad idea to experiment with that after you get healthy again. Um,
Right.
and if that's the case, then we could just say, look, just ignore the blood work. Really, it's not
Okay.
telling us anything. We know you're eating the proper human diet, and we know the longer you do that, the healthier you get. There's just no doubt in my mind in that anymore. The other approach we could take, if you're more concerned about it, is you wear a CGM. And then we look at it
Okay.
and say, okay, we don't care about the average because averages are deceiving. We want to know what's going on every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day for 2 weeks. That's what wearing a CGM does.
Okay. So that would be better than testing the A1s, because I do my finger prick every day. And like I told you the other day, mine's averaging. The other day it was 98, which was the first time it was that low in a while. But most time it averages between 102 to 110 in the morning time. But then in the afternoon, throughout the day, it goes down like 80s and 90s.
So that is the normal pattern we see with people who are eating low carb. That's why the A1C itself is so deceiving. We have to go in and do these other tests. The other, again, if you're concerned, and I wouldn't be, I would just keep eating the way you are. You're going to get healthier. It always works. The more important number we should be looking at, and you have to ask your doctor for this test, they never do it as a part of a normal panel, is a fasting insulin test. If we did that, then we would be able to see, because the insulin is what's hiding the fact that we're eating too much sugar. When our insulin system is working, you eat something very high in carbs, but your body says, oh, look, all those carbs, it dumps a bunch of insulin and your blood sugar immediately drops. So we never see that there was a problem. But if we do a fasting insulin test and insulin is high, then we know you're eating too many carbohydrates and your body has to keep dumping insulin. And right now it's covering up the number, but eventually you become insulin resistant. And then no matter how much insulin your body dumps, your numbers just start climbing. That's when it finally gets diagnosed as diabetes, about 10 years too late.
Okay, so which I'm out. We're not consuming carbs, so we ain't got nothing to worry about. So one other thing, because we're just eating strictly carnivore, as far as supplements, like I've ordered. We're starting to take the ancestral supplements and everything.
Okay.
But one thing that we're kind of questioning about is a good source to get some vitamin D. I know you got the vitamin D liquid and also the caps. I want to look into that. But other than that, what is another good source? I know some meats have it, not the protein part, but like fish and I think liver. But liver and fish, is that going to provide enough vitamin D if we eat that?
If you are eating liver once or twice a week and cold water fatty fish twice a week, you might be able to keep your vitamin D levels up high enough. Probably not. I've tried doing it throughout yeah. So here's what it turns out to be the absolute best vitamin D supplement, and we don't really talk about it like this, but it turns out it really is our best vitamin D supplement, is Cardio Miracle. There's something about
we're taking that.
Yeah, so they put vitamin D in there. It is one of the nutrients in Cardio Miracle. But there's something about all of the other, you've heard me talk about cofactors. Our body uses a lot of cofactors to make things happen. And many times it's not that we're missing the nutrient we think we're missing the cofactors that make it work properly. And the whole vitamin D, calcium, there's a whole bunch of things going on in there together. And for whatever reason, and I've tried to read the science and it's out there, but I'm not sure I completely understand it. Cardio Miracle is a really effective vitamin D delivery system. Now, I still put the drops in my coffee. That it's a habit. I've been doing it a long time. I had to drop it a little bit. I'm down to 3 drops now because I'm taking the Cardio Miracle, and that holds my range in that 90 to 110 range on vitamin D, which is a great place to be. There's no danger of vitamin D toxicity there, and it's plenty high that you're never going to have issues with low vitamin D. So 3 drops
Can
a
you take
day, and
too
then
much?
Cardio Miracle, and then I'm good.
Can you take too much vitamin D?
You can, but I've had people that were taking 10 drops a day in their coffee for whatever reason. I've never told anybody 10 drops a day, but somebody was doing it. I think their numbers were really low. They ended up at about 130, and their doctor freaked out. And there was no reason to freak out. All we had to tell them
Yeah.
was, it's not hurting anything. They had no side effects of vitamin D toxicity whatsoever. And you wouldn't at that number. If you got over 200, you might start to see some side effects of it. But I really
Okay.
haven't seen anybody get there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I got today. I appreciate all your help, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Congratulations on that. Keep it up. Let's go to Missouri. Gerald, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. How's it going, man?
Good. What's on your mind today?
So, well, I was listening to Glenn Beck this morning, and he had Casey Means on.
Okay.
And so last night he was talking about, he did a thing on Blaze TV about all the sugar, like, when we was kids, we really wasn't allowed to have sugar, right? I don't think you remember having much sugar when you was little.
Well, we
cereal.
we wanted it. Humans crave sugar. That is one of our
Yeah.
true natural cravings. Babies crave sugar. And we crave it because it is so rare in nature, and it is beneficial in very small amounts. But once we made sugar just widely available and dirt cheap everywhere, and we put it in every food now it has become a huge problem because we crave it and it's everywhere.
Yeah, he did a thing on Blaze TV last night, and he had her and Callie Means on, and it'll be on his YouTube channel, I think, tonight at 6:00 if everybody wants to check it out. But he's saying, like, every bowl of cereal that, kids add the sugar, like 3 tablespoons. He said at the end of the month, that's over a 10-pound bag of sugar.
Yeah.
Just for all that. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Well, prior to processed foods and sugar becoming dirt cheap, I don't know the exact statistics, but you don't have to be exact. You prior to processed food, we ate like less than 3 pounds of added sugar a year, I think. I mean, it was a crazy low number. And now that's like well over 100 pounds. I mean, the number just absolutely exploded. It's just a stupid number when you look at it. But when you think about it, again, we only get these added sugars in processed foods. If you're eating real, whole, natural food, it's really tough to get that much sugar.
Yeah, and then like the dyes. She was talking about the dyes on there this morning that, like, especially like with Jellos and such.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, kids like, and this is a thing too. We know this. I'm a big foodie, so when you make food, you prepare food, you do events. The saying is, we eat with our eyes first. We eat food that is attractive to our eyes. When we look at it, we see it, it's attractive. We want to eat it. Colors are a big thing for kids, and it's no mistake that they make kids' foods all bright primary colors.
Yeah, like at Walmart and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the.
Well, speaking of this, it was interesting. I didn't start with this because it wasn't a health day, but I had a note on here. One of the articles I read this morning, what's becoming a problem in children and even up to adolescents now?
I know you said it was diabetes for one. And
yeah, that we're seeing fatty liver. Well, now we know why. We know another reason why. One of the most popular foods for these kids now, toddlers, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, sometimes older, they are now eating baby food in pouches. There's this whole explosion of these pureed pouches of food that is primarily baby food. But because they're in pouches, it's really convenient. And I read articles, there were families, one family was spending $200 a month on pouches alone. She said, my kid would eat, he was like 8. And she said he would eat 10 of these a day if I let him. These are awful. You start looking at the ingredients, these things, they're loaded up with fruits and sugars and colors, and it's becoming a trend that now kids are eating this as convenience food. Yeah, this is going to get worse,
when you
not
was
better.
growing up, and when I was growing up, we didn't have there wasn't no such thing as diabetes or autism. They talked about that this morning.
Correct.
No, none of that.
Nope.
But now it's all changed. It's like, and not even half of the world uses the chemicals that we use.
No,
in food.
they've been promoting this thing where they'll show like Kellogg's cereal here in the United States, and then they'll show the exact same Kellogg's cereal in Great Britain, say, or France or Italy, and it has 1/3 of the ingredients. It's the same cereal.
Yeah.
Cheerios or Trix or whatever it is, it has 1/3 of the ingredients that the U.S. product has. And the reason is those ingredients are illegal in other countries.
Right.
Kellogg's would use them in those other countries if they could. They're just not allowed. It's illegal.
Yeah, Glenn asked her about. He said, "What do you think's causing them to put all the chemicals in there? Is it the FDA?" And she was like, "No, it's pretty much the industrial companies that put chemicals in there.
It's cheap.
Yeah,
it is just always come back to cost. There will be some reason they put the chemical in to either lower cost or make the product more stable somehow. Here's one we just came across. Nature Valley, I think. Is it Nature Valley that makes a lot of organic dairy? Sometimes I get these companies. Yeah. So
that's one of them.
It's one of the cleaner. I mean, as companies get bigger and bigger, they push all the limits on what's organic and what isn't, what's clean and what isn't. This is a company that I've been recommending forever. If I can't get Alexander's A2 milk, this was my second go-to. Lisa came home from shopping the other day and she said, "Hey, did you see Organic Valley has a new label, like a whole new look, new label, everything. The whole package looks different." And I said, "No, but that's always a good time to check to see if anything else changed. This is heavy whipping cream. What should be on the ingredient list in heavy whipping cream? Cream. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what heavy whipping cream is. It's cream. You can take the Alexander's milk, which isn't homogenized, so the cream separates, and you could take the cream off the top and you can make whipped cream out of it. That's what it should be. Except Nature Valley has now added something I had never even heard of, but there was a word in there that triggered me. Gum. But guar gum, there's all kinds of gums out there. They're all bad for us. They're really hard on our digestion. They came up with a new one I've never even seen before. Gellan gum. I think that's how you pronounce it. Gellan. And we went and looked it up, and it turns out it can even be some weird, like, novelty chewing gum because it's got some strange texture or something. I've never even heard of it. But it also is an emulsifier. So here's the comparison. You know, I get it. If you open up a heavy cream from Alexander's, which is not homogenized even, which is good, the fat will separate, and it actually sits in the top of the bottle and clogs the neck right there. I mean, sometimes I got to get a butter knife and kind of push it back down in and then shake it, get it to mix up. people don't like that. That's too much work. That's too
Oh,
inconvenient.
it's too much.
So we homogenize it, which usually solves this problem, but it damages the fats. Now, Nature Valley is saying, and we went and looked up, why did they do this? And they've gotten a ton of feedback on it, not good. And their answer was, well, our customers really like a smooth, consistent product. The FDA says these gums are not harmful. The FDA is full of shit. They are harmful. We should not be consuming this stuff.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so this is getting better or worse, not better. There's a clean brand that I thought was, so I said, well, we're not buying their products anymore.
It's something. But you was talking to her yesterday of the liver flush. That sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah,
I can't wait to try that either.
It seems like a pretty clean, simple detox without a lot of downsides. It's more of a mild detox that you do more often rather than waiting and then doing a big, severe detox that sometimes causes people a lot of discomfort. So I looked at it yesterday. I'm going to look at it some more, and then I'm going to try it myself, and we'll see what happens. Hey, Gerald,
right.
I just looked at the board and the clock. I got to get moving here. Let's go to Texas. James, welcome to the program.
How's it going, Kevin?
Good. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. No, I just wanted to compliment your guest yesterday. She was awesome. It was very refreshing to listen to her and all the experience she has. Does she have any books? Has she written any books?
I don't think she does, no.
She needs to.
Yeah, I know.
She needs to.
I don't think she does, but yeah, just a lot of great knowledge there.
Yeah, the guy before me, you were talking about that liver flush. I was curious about if you're going to publish that protocol, or are you going to wait and do it first, then do it?
I'm going to do it first. It's not that I don't trust her, and I looked at it, and it, like I said, it's pretty mild. I just we have some procedures, and we like to stick to them because every once in a while, when I don't do that, I get burnt, with something I didn't see coming. So yeah, I'm going to get on it, and I'm going to try it here pretty quick.
Yeah, she described it, but she talks about 400 miles an hour, so I couldn't catch all the different the mixture of all this, that, and the other. No, she was awesome. That lady had it going on, man. So
I
kudos for y'all for getting her.
Well, all of these interviews that we've been doing are all from the Cardio Miracle event in Salt Lake City. These are the people I spent a week with out there, and I talked about when I came back, and we're just working on getting them into the show. But that was just a crazy week. I spent the entire week surrounded by people like that, and it felt like they were all talking 400 miles an hour, and I was just trying to keep up.
Sure, man. If I start talking about stuff and people think I'm from the moon, man, and it's like, well, you keep shoving that shit in your mouth, and I'll keep eating the real thing, and then we'll see who.
That's exactly
what
right.
I mean. It's crazy.
It is
nuts. But anyway, man, thanks for all you do. I'll let you go. I know you ain't got much time, but
all right. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate that. Let's go to Wisconsin. Tom, welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Kevin. Yeah, I know you have abbreviated day. What was that lady's name yesterday?
We're doing okay on time. I panicked a little bit there because I just had a big long list of calls, but we just knocked a couple out, so we're good.
Cool.
Oh, you know what? I just drew. Shoot, what was her
name?
A blank. I just drew a total blank. I want
Save your moment, man.
The problem is, I want to say it was Tracy, but I think that was last week. I know I'm confusing those two.
Somebody else sent it to you. I hope.
Let me look here real quick from my notes.
Gotta hope she's not listening.
I know that would be really bad. Lori, not Tracy. Lori.
Lori
Tracy was on the week before. Lori Martin Gregory.
Lori or
Lori, Lori Martin Gregory.
Martin Gregory. Okay.
Yeah, she's got an interesting background. Journalist, worked on Wall Street, natural health practitioner. Yeah, she's just got a really interesting background, like 30 plus years in journalism.
Yeah, that's crazy too. And it was interesting to find out that Wall Street isn't really Wall Street, it's Boston. That was a new one on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not gonna publish those protocols, because she was talking about parasite protocol also. And that would have been interesting. I wonder, look her up and see what her protocols are.
Yeah, anybody that wants to go to her website, she'll have all this there. If you want to just jump right in and start doing it, I'm fine with that. I just don't like to put something out until I've experienced it myself.
No, I totally understand. And then, so what do you know? So I was watching my shorts like I do every night, for a half hour or whatever. And then Dr. Ken Berry came on there, and he was praising iodine, like the pharmaceutical iodine that it's real cheap. It's like $7 for 2 ounces for a bottle, and all the good things that come with iodine. What do you? I've never heard you talk about iodine. Before.
It's one of those weird kind of nutrients or molecules. We don't need a lot of it, but we should be in range on iodine. And one of the things that has changed recently is that, what do you think the number one source of iodine in our diet is?
Well, it probably used to be the salt.
Correct.
But seafood, I imagine, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Salt?
Salt. Iodized salt. When
you
look at the label of all the salt we all grew up with, Morton, all those big containers, it always said iodized salt, because we realized people were getting goiters if you go back to the 20s and 30s. And what happened was, really, if you follow the pattern of all of this, vitamin D being put into milk, iodine being put into salt, grains being heavily fortified with all kinds of B vitamins. And what happened was, prior to that time of processed food, we all ate whole, real food, and we were getting all of our nutrients. And we didn't even think about it. We didn't even know what they were. But then all of a sudden, when we started all this processed food, people started showing up with nutrient deficiencies, rickets and scurvy and goiters. And so instead of fixing the root cause, our food supply is a problem, we just supplemented cheap garbage nutrients into there instead. And then now that we're eating healthier, and we tell people, don't eat that garbage iodized salt, it's got microplastics and other chemicals, and just stay away from it. But now, if you're not eating a lot of seafood, there's a good chance, or supplementing, there's a good chance you're going to be low on iodine.
Iodine, yeah. And oh God, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. And then, we all moved into the cities, and then didn't get any sun, and that was probably, part of it too. There was a salt that I did see. It comes from like 2 places on Earth that is a natural iodized. I don't know if it's sea salt, or it's like a Himalayan salt, I think it is. But I'll have to look into that. That's interesting. And another question on that A1C. Now, how in the hell can you take a blood test for the A1C and it gives you a 90-day average?
I can explain that.
Now, how does that make sense?
That's a good question, and I can explain it. And the explanation is that we're not really measuring blood sugar. I may get the technicals on this wrong, but I'm going to be close and you'll understand it. I think we are measuring a glycated protein. So when the sugar is in our blood, it impacts other things. And I think one of them is a specific protein, and we can look at the way that that protein was impacted and then measure how much blood or sugar was in the blood. So it's not a direct measurement, because you're right. If we're just saying, hey, look, we're just looking for sugar in the blood, well, that's right now. How do you get a 90-day average out of that? An A1C test does not measure sugar at all. What it measures is something that we verified, and it is accurate. We verified that when sugar is in the blood, it affects this other molecule this way. And we now know we can measure that, and it gives us a pretty good idea of what the blood sugar was.
Okay. I remember. So, thank you for that. The lion diet. So if you're on the lion diet for a long, long time, and that's all you eat, you're gonna, because you said scurvy, you're not going to be getting your citrus that, like the old pirates.
Vitamin C.
You know what I mean? Used to get.
Is
that vitamin C?
This is an interesting topic. Yeah, vitamin C. Here's one of the ways you can get plenty of vitamin C on the lion diet. Beef liver, raw. Beef liver raw has tons of vitamin C. Once we cook it, we tend to lose. Vitamin C is easily damaged by heat. So if you're really worried about vitamin C, you could supplement it. You could eat raw liver. And there's an easy way. You cut it up in little cubes, freeze it, and swallow them like pills. But then there's a ton of research, and this is on my research list. I just haven't got to it yet. And I've read a little bit about this, that when you're eating this real whole food diet, somehow vitamin C just doesn't become as important. That we have to load ourselves up with vitamin C to try to get enough because of all the other problems in our food supply, the anti-nutrients. So again, this number we think we need for vitamin C is based on people eating the standard American diet and who are sick. Hunter, where did the Inuits get their vitamin C from?
Right. Well, you're obviously the liver.
Maybe we could speculate that maybe they did eat raw liver and that's where they got it. But when we look at carnivore kind of cultures and hunter-gatherer tribes that ate primarily meat, there was no scurvy. It was non-existent. I mean, we didn't really figure out what scurvy was until the Brits started sailing all over the world, and it was the.
Yeah, that was like the late 1800s. I mean, it was.
Do you know what the nickname is for British sailors?
What?
Do you know what the nickname is for British sailors?
Limeys.
Limeys, right. That's why, because they realized something was going wrong when they were out on these boats. They were getting scurvy. And they realized that if they ate limes, they didn't get scurvy. And we figured it was the vitamin C. But for some reason, hunter-gatherer tribes that didn't eat limes, nowhere near someplace to get a lime, didn't have scurvy either.
That's really interesting, isn't it?
Well,
that just doesn't make any sense right off the top. You know what I mean?
Here's
off the top of your head, you wouldn't think that would work that way.
I know. Here's what I'm starting to believe, that our body is pretty darn incredible. If it's missing a nutrient, there are many, many times where we can look at other ways that it makes up for that. And I think we got locked into these numbers. You need this much vitamin C and you need this much vitamin D. And we've made a mess of the whole thing. And now we see people that are eating differently and eating a true, natural, real human diet. It's like all these deficiencies just went away. We created many of these problems, I believe, with all the processed food.
Absolutely, we did. I told you a while back, probably it must have been, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago. I saw this documentary about it was about salt, the roads that we're on now, and the trails that are out there, and why we built what we built, where we built it, and it was all due basically to the proximity to salt that humans found. And so it was really, really, I can't find the darn, I thought it was called Salt, but I'll be damned if I can find that documentary. I've looked for it 1,000 times. And if you take the human embryo in the sac that it's in, and the salt water in the ocean, it's the pure salt water, not the polluted water, of course, but and it's all linked back to the nutrients that our body actually needs. And salt, because it was one of them, it was really an interesting documentary anyway. I'd love to find it to be able to forward it to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
So, the whole, this topic keeps coming up with vitamin C, with iodine, with, how are we getting these nutrients where if you don't have them, we know they cause all these problems. We have a lot of people eating carnivore, and we have people that have been doing it now for years, and nobody shows up with nutrient deficiencies.
Nobody's got scurvy?
No.
Huh, imagine that.
I know.
Yeah, so yeah, that is interesting. You were saying that you take the iodine that you buy at the store for wounds and whatnot, rub it on your skin, and you can tell pretty quickly if it stays there, you're not deficient in iodine. So I'm gonna try that as opposed to doing a $25 test or whatever.
So one of the things so if you're going to test this, we should probably put together a formal test on this. Here's why. This is one of those things I learned through the NTA. We did it there in class. It's kind of cool. Then you move on. But it's a 24-hour test. You put the iodine on, it stains your skin. You wait 24 hours. And if it's still there, if you can still see the stain after 24 hours, the idea is that you have plenty of iodine and your body is just leaving it there on the skin. But if you're deficient in it, your body will absorb it and use it. Now, I've not verified that test is accurate and works. Everybody in class, nobody had iodine on their skin after 24 hours. Nobody, not a single person. Now, what we didn't do was then go eat a bunch of iodine-rich food or take an iodine supplement and retry it again. So I've never seen somebody show up with the iodine there after 24 hours, which is what the test is supposed to be. Everybody that I've seen do it fails it.
Right. And that's
so
not a good sign. And everybody just ignored it and then forgot about it. And because I ordered some of that iodine on that Ken Berry had on his little thing there. So it's like $8. I got two of them anyway. And I guess I hopefully it has the directions on there. I think you only need a couple drops. So I'll do that. I'll do the iodine. And then I'll wait 24 hours and let you know. And then next week when I get home, I'll take that iodine and do it again.
Yeah. See, now here's something else. Have you ever seen seaweed snacks?
Yes.
Have you ever tried them?
They're real salty. No.
I actually like.
I have tried them, but I don't like them too much.
There was a company we were partnering with because they had this fantastic seafood snack, hand harvested off the rocks in California and dried and seasoned. And they didn't. Many of the products on the market use seed oils, unfortunately. This company was super clean, small startup. We were working with them to bring it into the store. They went out of business. Here's why I say this. Sardines, if you want a good food for a good convenience food, sardines, the mackerel, all of the canned seafood we sell in our store, those are considered some of the best sources of iodine. Sardines, tuna, those kind of things. And just to give you an idea, a 3-ounce can of sardines gives you about 35 micrograms of iodine, which is a big amount. That's a lot. Not many foods even come close to that. But seaweed, 1 gram of seaweed could potentially provide up to 3,000 micrograms of iodine.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
100 times more?
Yeah.
And without the mercury.
Correct. And we don't worry too much about sardines and small mackerel. That's why we carry sardines and small mackerel, because they don't collect mercury like bigger fish can. But seaweed is a really, really good option for iodine. Like if you snack once in a while on seaweed snacks, you're never going to have an iodine issue.
Wow. Maybe you can find another startup or somebody else that has. That would be really good to have then.
Yeah.
That would be really good to have.
Yeah, I have a funny.
Interesting.
Okay. I was going to tell a funny seaweed story, but I just looked and I have 3 more calls and I got 10 minutes. I got to go, Tom. Somebody should remind me someday. I'll tell the seaweed story. Let's go to Iowa. Brandy, welcome.
Thanks, Kevin. A couple weeks ago, I took Amtrak to Boston, and then I used 2 Ubers. And then the Uber that took me to the Hertz rental car, we got there. It was raining from a tropical storm that was up there. And I found out that the Ubers, they basically sort of rent all the cars from Hertz. Now, I've never driven an EV before, and I was basically... they were trying to find a car for me. So I just found it really interesting how that...
You're telling me that... Where were you? Boston? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yes, Boston.
You're telling me in Boston...
kind of by your inspiration.
You rode with an Uber driver and they rent their cars from Hertz?
So hopefully I went right. So I took Amtrak to the train station in Boston. I took an Uber to a hotel. I took a Uber to Hertz. When I got to Hertz, it was raining, and I happened to overhear that the driver that brought me to Hertz seemed to think, or the other person that was waiting there was also from Uber, thinking this was an Uber kind of rental place. And they said no. And they didn't have any cars available. But what I overheard was that basically Uber pays them by a certain weekly rate or something like that. And then they make money off the people that they Uber around the city. But what I found also interesting that they don't want the EVs because
I'm not getting the Uber Hertz connection here. I'm not understanding what goes on.
Well, I wanted a rental car for my motel, but Uber, the drivers for Uber, they rent the cars from Hertz.
That's what I'm trying to understand. If that's what's going on, that's insanity. That's
what I heard.
I just mentioned this the other day, full service leases for, owner operators or small fleet, totally stupid idea. You're giving the majority of your business away to somebody else. The whole point of being an owner operator is you are good at buying, speccing, and operating a truck efficiently. That's what you get paid for. If you then say, well, I don't want to mess with buying, speccing, and maintaining a truck, so I'm going to do a full service lease, well, you now are just being paid to drive a truck. What skill or what value do you bring to this equation? You gave up what your skill should be, the ability to manage a truck efficiently. You gave that away, so you gave away profit. That now that company gets part of the profit your business should be generating. And you now in my opinion, you're now just an employee driver, except you're not even going to get paid like an employee. This is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. It's even worse with a rental car. Holy cow, I I can buy and maintain cars pretty darn cheaply. Renting cars is really expensive.
I just found it fascinating that they get paid by Uber to be an employee, and then they make so much to pay the rental, and then whatever's left over is their profit.
What do you mean
and
they get paid by? Hold on. You said something that didn't make sense to me. Who gets paid by Uber to be an employee?
Well, I guess in order to drive for Uber, they pay you to work for them.
Yeah,
then
but not,
I guess after
but not as an employee. That's the part of the sentence that doesn't. You're an independent contractor. You're not an employee.
Okay. Well, so, I don't understand everything. It's only what I was picking up overhearing it while I'm waiting for my car.
Yeah. Hey, I got to cut you loose. I got 2 more calls I got to get to. If that's what's happening, it's just a really, really dumb setup. Let's go to Wisconsin. Rick, welcome.
Hello, Kevin. I know you're out short on time. Thank you for my call. I am stopping being an owner-operator, and I'm going to keep my 2016 Kenworth T680. And right now, the title, I own it. There's no payments on it. Is under my under my LLC name.
Okay.
Registered with the state. And I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to put instead of paying the $2,600 a year for the tractor plate, they have an option in Wisconsin. I can put a hobbyist plate on it for $300 for the lifetime as long as I own it. It's $298.
Nice.
And so what I'm wondering about really is I need to take the name off. It was good to have the title for the truck in Crosswork as long as I was an independent contractor. But now that I'm not going to use it for business anymore, I'm going to get a company job and not be self-employed.
Okay.
So I should then transfer the title into my name. That's another $180. But I'm thinking, is that a legal thing? Is that what I should be doing for protecting myself? I don't.
Here's part of the problem when we have so many damn government agencies everywhere. One set of rules from one government agency will conflict with another. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I want you to be clear about my advice. This is not legal advice. It's not advice with any understanding of how this works in your state, because every state can be different about this. I'm just going to give you my experience with this kind of stuff. I've never seen it matter. I've never seen an issue where whose name is on the title of this vehicle matters. And even the opposite. When you're an owner-operator and it's all tax deductible, in an audit, I've never even seen the IRS question what the name on the title is. I mean, it almost never seems to matter. There might be some rule or some law or something somewhere. So I'm telling you, I don't know the rules. I don't know the laws. I don't care. I'm just telling you that I've never seen it become an issue. And there was a time where my brother and I had been buying trucks and running them. He had been buying trucks and running them, and we combined our 2 companies together. And I will tell you, we had 11 trucks at one time. It was a mess. Some of them were in the corporate name. Some of them were in my brother's name. Some of them were in my name. So it was all over the board. And then when we split up the company and we took a couple vehicles each, we never messed with changing names on titles on anything, and it never seems to have any impact on anything at all.
My insurance company wants me to put it in my name. Then I don't have insurance on it yet.
Then
it's always
if
been
that's
with
the
my
case,
lease.
If that's the case, then I would just change the title. If there's something in the process that kind of forces you to change, then go ahead. But all I'm saying is many times nobody even looks at this and nobody cares. If you have an insurance company that is looking at the physical title and saying, no, your name has to be on it, then go ahead and change it.
I'm so glad I'm able to keep this as a heavy truck. I don't have to buy a 3/4 ton or a dually to haul a camper around.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have my hobbyist plate. I can pull.
Yeah.
And it's got 2 bunks, a refrigerator, and a generator in it. I can use it as my camper if I don't even want to pull a trailer. But
I love that.
You got a source for.
Here's what I'll tell you how this is so screwy in each state. I love the fact that Wisconsin has this hobbyist plate that I can pay $300 for lifetime. I went through one of the worst Lisa and I spent like 7 hours at the DMV when we first moved to Oregon, and we needed our RV, the glider that we were using to pull our RV. We needed it licensed, and they could not figure out how to license it. They kept wanting to put commercial vehicle plates on it. And I said, not no, but hell no. I am not a commercial vehicle, and I don't want anything indicating that I am, because that can cause you real problems out at the scales. Because technically, if I'm a commercial vehicle and I'm over a certain weight, now I have to have a logbook, fuel tax, all that other stuff. And I'm saying, no, I'm not a commercial vehicle. They had 6 people working on this, trying to figure out how to give me a license plate for this thing. All right. I see I got to grab one more call. I'm a little late today, as usual. Michael, you get the final word. What do you got today?
Hi, Kevin. It's nice finally speaking to you for the first time. Basically, I was just calling in because you had mentioned it last week during the health show. Brought up a topic that you wanted to talk about is canola oil.
Yeah.
And I just found that as I just recently, before that, had heard a documentary about canola oil and its connection, basically proliferation with how much of it is that we take in. It's like, it's amazing how many items has that
Yes.
canola in it. I mean, like, to include even things like, say, jerky. I was just I've looked at ingredients a lot recently. That even has canola oil in it, or any dressings that you use for salads.
It's cheap.
Would have that. But I just wanted to.
It's cheap. That's all we have to say. It's cheap.
Yeah.
That's why it gets used so much. It was originally developed as an engine lubricant.
Yes, for World War II.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and then
I
we realized
just wanted to hear more about like your thoughts about that.
Well, here's my thoughts. It's really simple. Any food that has any seed oil in it, I am not consuming. Canola is just one of our most common seed oils, but we have corn oil, we have cottonseed oil, we have soybean oil. We could go on and on and on. These are all seed oils. The marketing, they will call them vegetable oils because we think vegetables are healthy. They're not. You don't get oil from the vegetable. You get it from the seed of the vegetable. And when you look at how they have to be processed with chemicals and high heat, and they are one of the worst offenders in our food supply now. And they're everywhere. Like you said, they're in everything. Right. My thought is really simple. If there's a seed oil in the product, I'm not eating it.
Well, and that process line of considering it is in pretty much everything. How do you even avoid
wait a minute.
Consuming it, basically.
It's not in everything. It can only be in food where it gets added to that food. So really, your goal should be to eat as much food as possible that has never been inside of a factory. You're not going to find canola oil in a ribeye. You're not going to find canola oil in eggs. You're not going to find canola. Now, you have to be careful with canned seafood because you might find it being packed in canola oil, and that would be a bad thing. I would not eat that seafood. It's why our canned seafood is never packed in a seed oil. It's either packed in water, its own natural juices, or olive oil usually.
That's also kind of why I mentioned the jerky. Like, I just recently looked at that, and it had canola oil as one of the ingredients in it.
That's just one brand of jerky. We have beef sticks and all that in our store that has none of that. So in one sense, you can say it's hard to avoid it, but in reality, it's not. All you have to do is look on the label, and if it's there, just don't eat that product. There's plenty of other things to go eat.
Right. I also just bring up the fact that the documentary that I had watched about that had made the connection with seed oils in general, also mentioning canola oil. And when the food pyramid, I guess, started promoting the use of canola oil, they made the connection between that and the decline of IQ.
Yeah,
in the American population.
I don't doubt it, because every cell in our body is made up of fats. And when we consume all these seed oils, that is the fat that our body has to produce cells, and it's damaged, and we end up with damaged cells. It leads to all kinds of chronic diseases, including chronic stupidity. And look around.
Right.
Seriously, look at our population today. Look at our kids. Look at our scores in schools. It's awful. The numbers are horrendous. Third world countries do better than we do in many of these markers, and it's because of our food supply. Hey, Michael, I got to cut you loose because it's time to bring in another Michael and another Kevin. Imagine that. Good morning, guys.
Yeah. Morning. It's so far just me.
Oh.
Mike is in California, but he says he's going to be calling in. I guess he's just not aware of the time.
Got it. He forgot to set his alarm.
Exactly.
What's he doing in California? Anything fun?
Yeah, visiting family.
Oh,
that's what I was last week. Right after the show, basically, I went to Arizona and spent time with aunts and uncles and cousins, and
got it.
It was really nice up there in the Flagstaff area, all the way up to
Flagstaff's beautiful.
The north side of the Grand Canyon. After that.
Yeah, Flagstaff is beautiful.
It's
Isn't Mike
nice.
Originally from San Diego? Is that right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Well, no, he's originally from Detroit.
Oh.
And then he moved to the San Diego area as a young child.
I knew there was a connection there to San Diego.
Yes. Yes, Escondido. That's where I was born, was Escondido, just a little bit north.
Oh, got it.
And,
okay.
Yep. Very nice place.
Yeah, it is. Well, it used to be.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been there in quite some time, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we won't get into it. It's still a beautiful place. We'll just leave it at that. How's that? So, what's new and exciting in your world?
I did some training for some guys out of Wisconsin. That went very well. Going to be a good. It's a fleet running nothing but Kenworths, and says they don't let them get older than about 400,000 miles. So they're really only going to be aligning the trucks hopefully once each, and leave it at that.
Boy, it's
interesting.
It's not out of the question with some of the reports I've gotten back from people that they may make it with one set of drive tires.
Right.
That's kind of crazy.
If they can, I was just talking to a guy with the Volvos that normally gets about 400,000 miles on his drive tires.
Yeah.
And if you can turn it in at that point, I guess that's great.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that. So it presents challenges depending on who's picking it up and exactly what maintenance you did with it.
One of the models, and I like to make people aware of this just so you know what you're buying sometimes when you buy on the secondary market. One of the things a lot of these fleets have figured out, because I can tell you this, replacing a truck at 400,000 miles does not make economic sense.
No,
not on its surface.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't. And you can run the numbers. It does make sense. What you have to look at is what are the other factors? Why would they potentially do this? The big one was really driven by drivers. With all the turnover, drivers got really, really picky about trucks. And they could be picky. I used to get, when I hired drivers, I used to get calls, and one of the first questions they would ask me, tell me about your trucks. And I'd be like, no, you tell me about your driving record. My truck has nothing to do with it at this point. Oh, well, I only drive, click, I'm done. If that is your focus as the driver, you have to know what the truck is. Well, move on. You can go someplace else that replaces their trucks every 400,000 miles. You can always get a new truck. It's not going to happen here. I keep my trucks to 1.2 million miles, but they're always safe. They're always, everything is operational. They're in perfect condition. And that's not hard to do, especially the new trucks at 1 million miles are still like new, I swear. So drivers, the driver turnover issue drove a lot of this. Fleets knew if they kept new trucks, they had an easier time attracting drivers. And then they figured something else out. That if you knew you were getting rid of this truck between 400,000 and 500,000 miles, you could skip almost all of the preventative maintenance.
Yeah, that's my issue.
Just do nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Just do nothing to this truck unless it breaks. If it breaks, we'll fix it. Other than that, we're not doing all of this normal routine maintenance that we should be doing because none of it will affect us. It only helps the truck if you're going to 800, 1 million miles. That's when all that routine maintenance really paid off. But if you're not keeping the truck, who cares? And that's what these fleets have done.
Right.
Yeah, they have gutted their
so
maintenance programs. Right.
Yeah. It's tough if you know the fleets that are doing that, it makes it a lot easier to pick your truck. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
It looks like Michael woke up.
Looks like Mike's waiting.
Yeah, it looks like he woke up. He's in the queue.
All right, I'll bring him in.
All right, I'll let you guys go. Have a great day.
All right, thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Is this Mike?
This is Mike. I was trying to call